Thanks so much for joining us today. We're here with Compassionate Certification Centers, a voice you've heard before. We're here with Ken. Welcome back to our studio. So happy to have you.
Thank you, Jenna. We're happy to be back.
So, Ken, just reintroduce yourself to everybody here. Tell us a little bit about you and a little bit about Compassionate Certification Centers.
Yeah, my name's Ken Shultz. I'm the National Sales Director for Compassion Certification Centers. If you're not familiar with us, you may know us from a couple ways. The first thing that we've ever done to plant our flag, if you will, was we hosted the World Medical Cannabis Conference and Expo for 2 years running at the David L. Lawrence Convention Center. So we brought a lot of the cannabis leaders to the Pittsburgh area so that way the medical marijuana program could get off on the right foot. We feel like we were pretty successful in doing so. But then after that, though, we started seeing patients on December 8th of 2017. That was when we saw our first patient. And we do the certifications for the medical marijuana program here in the state of Pennsylvania.
That's pretty cool. 2017 being that first date of really, hitting the ground running sort of thing. Kind of talk me through where you were then and, now 2019, looking ahead to 2020, where we are now. What's going on in your world?
Well, our world's pretty exciting. Since then, we've upgraded to a lot more qualifying conditions. We've brought on the extra qualifying conditions such as anxiety. Anxiety being that's something that plagues most people, unfortunately. But the medical cannabis research and some of the things that have been going on are going to quickly show that it was the right thing to do for the state to bring that on as one of qualifying conditions. But when we first started, though, there was a lot of gray area. A lot of people had misconceptions. They were hesitant to want to participate in the program. One thing I'm happy to announce is that, with ourselves and some of the other industry leaders, we've been able to overcome a lot of those objections. And Pennsylvania actually saw a $500 million revenue stream come through for the first 2 years in the medical cannabis program.
You're welcome, state of Pennsylvania. Am I right?
Man, it's exciting. And yes, you are welcome. and we're grateful, though, because that just means there's a lot of Pennsylvanians out there that are getting the medicine that they absolutely need.
Let's talk about that process a little bit, just reminding people, you mentioned also obstacles, misconceptions, things like that. There are still people out there, I hear about it every day, that don't know the process to obtain their medical marijuana card. So why don't you take us through step by step and let's address some of those misconceptions about maybe how do I go pick up the phone and get my card?
Well, let's start there. Let's start with the process. And honestly, the first thing you do want to do is pick up the phone or go to your computer, or you can go on your phone and just bring up your whatever you use, whether it be Safari or whatever search engine you decide. But you can go to our website at cccregister.com or give us a call at 888-316-9085, and we can really get the process started for you immediately. So one of the first things you want to do is find out what kind of qualifying condition you may have. And you can find that at the Pennsylvania Department of Health website, or you can also find them on our website, again, cccregister.com. So with the qualifying conditions, what we're looking to do is we're looking to help obtain your medical records. Now, that is really step one once you make the call. That's one of the first things that we're going to try to do for you is we want to obtain the medical records that will attest to the fact that you do have one of the state qualifying conditions. Now, that leads me into one of the misconceptions. One of the misconceptions is that you have to have a referral from your PCP or a referral from another physician that doesn't do the certification. That is actually very false. You don't have to have a referral to come see us. Your medical records do, in fact, belong to you. So all you have to do is give us the right to access them, and we're able to go ahead and do that for you. So once we do obtain your medical records, we're able to get you with an appointment. Once you have your appointment, you will come to one of our 10 locations. We have locations in downtown Pittsburgh. We have locations in Butler, Natrona Heights. We're excited to announce we have a new one coming on board in Greensburg. So once we get your appointment set, you come in, we have your medical records already accessed, and then you see one of our state qualified physicians that will attest to the fact that your medical records state that you have one of the qualifying conditions. Now, once we do that, you get the attestation. From there, our physician is going to help you get started on what we call your medical cannabis treatment plan. All right, we want to make sure that you actually go through the process and actually find relief and not just find yourself living up to some of the misconceptions that we're a bunch of Cheech and Chong type individuals, because that's just not true. A lot of people use this medicine in place of, like opioid reduction as one of qualifying conditions. Autistic children use this medicine, and we're not out to get people high. That's not what we do. So that is definitely still one of the misconceptions that people do have. But once you get your medical cannabis treatment plan from the physician, then You will, well, he'll finish the paperwork through the Department of Health, and then your medical card will come in. We like to say 7 to 10 days, but give or take, we can't really control how fast the government gets things done. But once you obtain your card, you can then go into one of your local dispensaries, which there's plenty around the Pittsburgh area, Greensburg area, and all throughout the state of Pennsylvania. And you can obtain your medicine.
That's awesome. It really sounds like it's a very concise process. The first step being really contact compassionate certification centers. You guys make it really easy for people. That's awesome. One of the things that I wanted to ask too, you addressed a lot of misconceptions, which I like. Let's talk a little bit about once somebody actually obtains their medical marijuana card, the rumors, if you will, people losing jobs. Explain a little bit about how you guys have heard about that and how you'd like to really combat that misconception, because it's not true.
Yeah, a lot of people are afraid that they will, in fact, lose their job if they start to use medical cannabis. The reality of that is up to your employer, but you can be very straightforward with your employers. Now, I know that's not always easy to do, especially if you still have this persona in your head that marijuana is a gateway drug or anything along those lines. So what we recommend is that, A, you should talk to your employer. You should find out what their stance is on drug testing. Because if you are operating heavy machinery or anything like that, then no, you shouldn't be using THC while you're in the office, per se. That's definitely not recommended. Just like it's not recommended you use opioids or any other kind of medication that you're being prescribed by your doctor. So yeah, that kind of misconception can be held true. But if you know that up front, then you know that you can medicate at home. You know that we have CBD, which is a non-psychoactive aspect that you can use while you're getting through your workday. There's only been one case that we've seen with all the patients that we've certified here in the state of Pennsylvania where somebody did encounter some problems from their employer. And, they're actually going to battle that because he has his medical marijuana card. The employer did tell them up front that it was okay for them to use medical cannabis. And then once they tested him, they changed their story. But the reality is that it looks like he's going to come out on top. And it's only been one case out of the hundreds and I think we're in thousands now. I don't even know how many patients we've certified. I should look that up.
It's been so many, I know.
Yeah, I should know these things.
No, I think that's really cool too because, misconceptions may be that like, oh, it's taboo or anything. It's not anymore. People can take a low dosage of medicinal marijuana, still be able to function. But yeah, just check with the boss. I mean, want to get that paycheck still, but also want to make sure that you feel good and that you can still work in your day-to-day. Makes a ton of sense.
Sure, we want our patients to be able to be functional. That is the idea. And that's another one of the misconceptions is that, once you use cannabis, then you're just going to sit on your couch and you're going to be very high and then you're going to have the munchies. That's what I grew up believing, and that's what I'm sure a lot of people out there grew up believing. And unfortunately, and the truth is that's just unfortunately not true. The reality is that when you use the medical cannabis properly, and that's why our physicians, I'm so proud of the job that our physicians and our nurses do, is they really help people find the dosing that's right for them. And dosing is something that you hear a lot whenever you come to our locations.
Mm-hmm. And I like that you also started to touch upon, too, the difference. We find that maybe medicinal marijuana may or may not be, the right answer for everybody. And that's why Compassionate Certification Centers also has a full line of CBD products. So can you maybe tell us a little bit more about that part of your industry as well?
Absolutely, yeah. And like you said, some people, THC might not be the right path for them. And now let's make sure we understand what the difference is between THC and CBD. The program for the state, it pretty much is a THC program. For you to legally obtain any kind of THC products, then you do have to go through the state certification process, and that's what starts with a phone call to us. And then you go to a dispensary which has a license to sell that THC-rich products. Now, CBD, which is cannabidiol, which is the non-psychoactive portion of the cannabis plants, one cannabis plant in particular is a hemp-based one, you're able to extract the CBD. Now, CBD is non-psychoactive, and it will not show up in any kind of urine drug screening or anything of that nature because what they're testing for is THC. So if you do have an employer that does test for THC, the psychoactive portion of the cannabis plant, psychoactive is only one aspect of it. It does a lot of other wonderful things as well. But that is what they're testing for. So if your employer is very forthright with you and says, look, I'm going to test you for this. If you have it, then you very well may be in trouble. Then don't go that route. Come see us anyway, though. We can get you started on some CBD, which has a lot of the same medicinal aspects to it. It plays on your endocannabinoid system in a very similar fashion, and you can still see some great benefits from CBD.
Now, I see CBD signs everywhere at my local gas station. I mean, it's crazy the kinds of places that you go, and now this has become a part of our culture that get CBD here. But there's got to be a difference between what Compassionate Certification Center is selling and what my local, Gecko is selling as far as their CBD. So explain to me, why not just buy it anywhere?
Well, it's funny you bring up gas stations. When we watch some of these older movies and things like that, we remember gas stations being full service, right? You get to pull up. You don't have to get out of your car. They'll ask you, what do you want, regular, unleaded? They'll tell you the difference, all this stuff. You got a guy wash your windshield for you. Yeah, they don't service you in any way, shape, or form like that anymore, do they?
No.
You got to pay. You got to pull up. You got to get out in the cold. You got to stand there and pump and everything else. It's prepay, and sure, it's everything that makes it more convenient and easier. But what if you're a 16-year-old kid and actually doesn't know how to do this yet? First time out driving without mom or dad, and all of a sudden you pull up to one of the diesel pumps, and now your car blows up, right? Well, why would we expect a gas station to give you a service on on what's considered to be medical? So, if you expect to go into a gas station and find out what the proper dosing is for you and your ailment, then good luck. That's the unfortunate truth.
No, that makes a ton of sense. You can't just roll up somewhere where they aren't the experts. Whereas at Compassionate Certification Centers, you guys are the experts. You will recommend proper dosage, what to use, what not to use. I think that's another misconception to check off the list, if you will.
Sure. And see, with us, we started carrying CBD not primarily because of the financial aspect of it, which is what gas stations do. Gas stations put the stuff that makes the most money on the end cap. Where do you see CBD at in a gas station? On the end cap.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there goes my old retail history coming into play, right? We all have history. It's okay. I'm not ashamed. All right? You live and you learn. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to help you live and learn how to better use medical cannabis in all shapes and forms, whether it be THC or through CBD.
It's funny. One of my favorite CBD stories is actually about you, because you talk about your history, and you're a healthy guy. You like to work out. Sports, big part of your background, obviously. One of my favorite stories, and maybe you could reiterate it for us, is just being sore, just like working out, coming home from the gym, and having CBD. I don't know. You call it muscle cream, or I don't know what the guys call it anymore. Okay, but something like that, I think, is really neat that you could just use in your day to day. And it's just to help heal your body. Can you explain a little bit more about something small like that?
I'd love to. I just passed into the 40 range about a month ago.
Oh, I didn't ask you to say that.
That's okay. Hopefully I'm aging like a fine wine and not like milk. But CBD has honestly helped that process. About 3.5, 4 years ago is whenever I started taking CBD full time. And, I did play a lot of contact sports when I was younger. And, now that I have this 40-year-old body, it reminds me of that from time to time. And I do like to go to the gym. I use the gym as, it's one of my new sanctuaries now. A lot of guys my age can probably relate to that. We go to the gym, we help to de-stress ourselves, and honestly, it feels good. It feels good to look good, and that's okay. So you go to the gym and you work out, but the soreness, it takes longer and longer to go away as we begin to age. Myself, what I've been able to find is that, since I've been using CBD, I haven't touched an ibuprofen, Advil, or anything of that nature in over 3.5 years. So CBD is now my new go-to that I use daily in order to keep any kind of inflammation down in my body, which is normally why the aches and pains come about. But also sometimes, though, if I go in the gym and I start to think that I'm in my 20s again and I start doing things that I know I shouldn't be doing, but, the old meathead in me comes out, then sometimes I do experience some extra soreness that I'm not accustomed to. Well, we have our muscle gel, which works great on that. Our muscle gel, you can put it directly onto the spot, and excuse me, and it's an anti-inflammatory. It's going to work. It works very quickly. The onset is usually within 10, 15 minutes, and you can start to feel a lot better. You can start to feel your range of motion come back. And also on top of that, you're going to absorb the CBD in that muscle gel systemically. So it's actually by putting some extra rub on a sore spot, like maybe a hip. I have sciatica problems from time to time. I'm also getting the anti-anxiety benefits of CBD. I'm getting the anti-inflammatory benefits of CBD. It's really is a wonderful thing to find something like this that works so well and for so many different ailments.
I like that too, and it's kind of getting me in the mindset. People, they want to look better, feel better, sleep more, whatever. Can you maybe also talk about if there are any other benefits to just incorporating CBD in your daily life, whether you like to work out, whether you're trying to lose weight, sleep better, things like that? What else can CBD really do for people?
People are looking to find more balance in life. And CBD does just that. It's called homeostasis. Okay. And what homeostasis is, it's a balance that is able to be found from within the body. And we're all searching for balance. We're searching for balance of workload versus, fun time. We're looking for balance in our relationships throughout life. And we're looking for balance inside our bodies, because when our bodies are out of balance, that's when things start to go wrong. One time in my past history, I had a trainer tell me to imagine the human body standing on a piece of glass. And if somebody were to look up from there, what is out of whack? That's how they identify what's called a gait. How do you walk? If you're walking with and you're favoring your left leg, well, that means your right leg's doubling down on the work. And that's going to cause things to go out of whack. So a lot of these things that you do that take you out of balance, it can be helped inside the body by taking CBD because the two receptors inside our body, the CB1 and CB2 receptor, they work on your neurosystem and your immune system. So bringing those two systems back into balance can help to balance out a lot of things. Number one, it can curb your appetite. It can start to bring balance into your diet. So that way you can be more consistent with when you eat and how much you eat and your portion control. My wife, for example, I'm not going to say how much weight she lost, but she lost a significant amount of weight.
I think that's awesome. And for all the ladies listening, like you did hear that, right? It can help you lose weight. I know my ears perked up. No, I think that's wonderful. And I think, too, it is a natural product. I think that's something that we should really obviously hit home on. A lot of people trying to eat clean, if you will, or don't want to put anything, any kind of toxin in their body. Can you just describe, how clean, where this particular element is derived from, if you
Our CBD is derived from hemp.
Mhm.
So our hemp that we currently use is grown in Kentucky and Colorado. That's where most of our hemp for our product does come from at this time. We are going to expand upon that because with the new 2018 Farm Bill, there's more hemp available. But we got to make sure that it's quality product first. But it's all fully organic, no GMOs, all that fun stuff. So it's a very safe, very clean product that is triple lab tested. Whenever we have our product that gets tested first at the extraction phase, and we're testing it for heavy metals, we're testing it for THC levels versus CBD levels. We want to make sure that what we're going to put on the bottle is actually accurate. So it gets tested there first, and then it actually gets turned into whatever form it may become. It may become one of our muscle gels. It may become one of our capsules or one of our tinctures. Then we test that product right there on location where it's manufactured at, and we test it there to make sure that what's on the bottle is in the bottle. But here at CCC, we go a step further. So we receive our shipment, and what we do with our shipment is we do a blind test for our products before we offer them out to the public. So we take a sample size from every shipment that we get, and we send it out to be tested just one more time to make sure that the lab results that we get from our location match up with what we get once it hits our shelves.
And that is just an extra step that you guys, why do you feel the need to take that step, if you will?
Well, the efficacy in cannabis right now and with CBD it's tough right now because there's a whole other green rush going on now. The 2018 Farm Bill passed and everybody's growing hemp. So that's why you see the CBD signs everywhere. Everybody's trying to grab a piece of the pie, if you will. And for good reason. There's a lot of money out there to be made. But again, with us, we didn't start selling CBD because of the financial aspect. We started selling CBD because our patients asked for it. Back in December of 2017 when we started seeing patients, CBD wasn't even part of our original business plan. Our business plan was to certify patients and educate patients. Well, as they started going to dispensaries, we quickly realized that everything they were going to find at a dispensary was going to be THC rich. Very little of the products found in a dispensary had any kind of CBD in there. And the problem with that is that some people don't need a very high ratio of THC. They actually need a much higher ratio of CBD or CBG, some of the other cannabinoids that are found, and very little THC to complete that chain. So what we did is we started doing our homework and we went out and we found different suppliers that we can offer our own brand of CBD for. Just because we don't want to rely on people going to gas stations to be able to combat what they're buying at the dispensaries.
Makes a lot of sense. And I was going to say, with kind of your explanation there, supply and demand, issues, non-issue. I mean, because it does seem like you can kind of get this pretty much anywhere. Is it supply and demand issue maybe based on what the quality product is?
With CBD, there's more enough supply out there right now with the hemp-based CBD, especially with the new 2018 Farm Bill that passed last year. So it's very easy to find supply in CBD. The problem is it accurate? Does everybody offer up their lab testings? And then, unfortunately, the reality there is a lot of people just don't, and the demand is so high that nobody cares. So everybody wants to find out what CBD is. Is it going to work for me? And that's another question too. If you want to find out the true answer, if CBD works for you or not, give us a call. I run into people daily that say, I tried CBD, it didn't work for me. Well, chances are they might have only used it one time and expected to be like a miracle cure, which it's not. CBD, one of the best ways to look at it is something that you take daily, almost like a multivitamin, if you will. Something that you need to keep inside your bloodstream and keep active within your own endocannabinoid system.
Now, take that same question of supply and demand and apply it now to medicinal marijuana. Where are we as far as that's concerned?
Well, right now, one of the problems that we've been having with the state program is that flower. And for those of you out there who don't know what flower is, that is simply the plant itself. Whenever they pull it off the leaf and they put it in there, it's like if you were going to put anything into a pipe or any kind of vaporizer or anything of that nature. That's what flour is. Flour is what you see Cheech and Chong doing, okay, not the oil. Never saw a Cheech and Chong movie where they were vaping. But the flour has been on a shortage as of late. Everything that I am hearing is that is going to be rectified in 2020. So a lot of the growers have expanded. They do have more space available, and they are producing at a much more rapid pace at this point. So there will be flower in dispensaries. I know a lot of you folks out there that are educated on it and want to come out and get your card. You're hesitant because there's no flower in dispensaries. Well, that problem, from everything I am hearing, will be solved here in early 2020.
That's good to know, too. And that kind of brings up the next question is when things do become in large supply, people start to think about recreational. Where is this going next? And, it's a lot of buzz, a lot of rumor, but obviously while we have the expert here, might as well ask, what is going on as far as recreational marijuana here in Pennsylvania?
All signs point to that it will go recreational, which is very exciting. Mm-hmm. Exactly when, I am not sure. But let me tell you the process of what happens when it does go recreational, okay? Because this is something, too, that's keeping a lot of folks from participating in the medical marijuana program. There's a lot of states out there that have both programs, medical marijuana and recreational marijuana. So let me kind of draw a timeline here for you. So once they actually do pass recreational, what will then happen is they'll have to, some of the people that are already growing may be able to start growing immediately. It's normally a 3-month cycle to be able to grow and then to be able to have it hit shelves. Some of the people that already have the medical marijuana dispensing license may also get the recreational dispensing license. That I'm not sure of. We'll see. It all depends on how the Pennsylvania government decides to handle it. There is a process they went through for the medical program that proved to be fairly effective, and they may want to do the same process for the recreational. I'm honestly not sure on that. But bottom line, once everything does get approved and once we've identified who's going to grow it, who's going to sell it, there's at least a 3-month time span if they allow the current people in play that have everything in place to go ahead and do it. It would still be a 3-month time span before any kind of product is available. Now, if they decide to go a different direction and they want people to apply for a totally new license, and then it's going to take quite a while. There was about a 2-year window from the time they approved medical cannabis to the time that anything was sold, okay, because of the application process. So just because it may be going recreational, doesn't mean it's going to happen very quickly. Once they approve it, there's a process that has to go through that could take, honestly, it could take anywhere from 3 months to 6 months to a year. Okay, so that's step number one. Now, even once it does go recreational, honestly, a lot of people are worried about the medical program. Nothing to worry about, folks. The medical program thrives in the states where there's a recreational program as well. And let me tell you a few reasons why. Number one, if you have a really major pain and you need something for anti-inflammatory before cannabis ever existed, you would probably go to your local pharmacy and buy something over the counter, right? You can buy like an ibuprofen or something along those lines. But if that didn't do the trick, then you had to go see your doctor. Your doctor could then prescribe you something stronger. Well, in the medical cannabis world and along with the recreational world, the same types of things apply. If you don't have a medical card, then you only have access to certain strengths, certain levels of cannabis. Um, if you do have your medical card, then you have access to the full range that's available to the medical patients here today. So when recreational cannabis does come on in a lot of states, then what happens is they offer something that's not quite as strong. It might not be the dosing that you're after or that you need in order for your ailment to be satisfied. So that's part two is the actual dosing and the amount of cannabis. Step three that a lot of people don't understand is the pricing. Once you have your medical card and you have access to the medical cannabis, the cost on average is usually close to half the price for the same quantity.
So this would be right there, that last bit about raising prices would be the reason why you would probably instruct all of your patients or anybody who's considering a medical marijuana card, do not wait. Is that accurate?
100%. Jump on board now and absolutely do it. And a lot of people don't want to do it because they're afraid, because they might lose their guns or they might lose their job. And my question to those folks are going to be, well, if you don't want your medical card because you're afraid of losing your guns or anything like that, then you're telling me that you're going to go when it's recreational, and then you think it's going to be okay. Um, it's Either way, you're going to be fine. Come in, get your medical card, have us help you understand the proper dosing so you can find the relief that the medical cannabis does in fact offer. Waiting for recreational is a lot of people feel that that's the way to go. The reality is once it does go recreational and you do walk into a shop for your first time ever, and you see the difference in price and the difference in the dosing, you're going to come and see us anyway. So come on in now.
I think the best way to kind of like describe it is, when you go to the grocery store or something so many times, you have like a perks card, right? You want to make sure that you're getting the most out of your purchase. I kind of correlate it to something like that. Would that be accurate?
Sure, I can
Yeah.
buy that. Yeah.
I think, like anything, if you're going to do it, you should do it now. It's wonderful to have somebody like Ken with us, obviously, to, kind of combat some of these questions or any obstacles or adversities that people may not understand. So I think that's really important while we do have you here today. With that being said, also, too, as we're talking about recreational and kind of waiting on the government, if you will, the differences in state versus federal medical marijuana regulations. I mean, any movement there? What's the latest in that department, if you will?
Well, federally, it's still a Schedule One drug. The nice thing about it on a federal level was that it is rapidly being decriminalized, and they are starting to look at a lot of these folks that are actually in jail doing very long sentences that are in there for marijuana distribution or anything like that, and they were looking at appeals and dropping those down. One of our lawyers that works for us, you probably know him. His name's Patrick Nightingale. Patrick, if you listen, you're welcome for the plug, buddy. You do a great job. Patrick's working here within the state for a lot of these folks now because he's able to look at a lot of it coming and getting a lesser charge added to it. So taking the charge that they may have originally got for possession or anything like that and getting it decreased, if not completely expunged. So on the federal level, from a legality standpoint, it still is a Schedule One drug, but it is going down. So most of the cannabis distribution that's taken place legally throughout the United States is still done on a state by state level, and honestly, there's a good reason for that. If we do go completely Schedule One, if we decriminalize it right now, then we need to know where to put it. So if it's not Schedule One, then what schedule is it? And the current administration is asking those questions, which is a good thing. We're excited to hear that. We want to know that we're moving in the right direction. But once we do that, there's a lot of extra stuff that comes with it. If it's no longer a Schedule One drug, well, now we got to worry about product coming in from outside our borders. And as far as the efficacy on that, we got to have a system in play to be able to test that immediately if we do start doing that.
Ken, we love having you here as always. So let's do a final thoughts here.
Absolutely, and thank you again, Jenna, for having us. I guess I'll leave you guys with this. Compassion Certification Centers is and always will be a location you can come into, and it's going to have the patient's best needs at heart. That's really what we do. So again, Jenna, thank you so much for having us on. And my name, again, is Ken Shultz. I'm with Compassion Certification Centers. We can be found by phone at 1-888-316-9085. That's 888-316-9085. We can also be found on the web at www.cccregister.com.